Hello, everyone, and welcome to another broadcast from your favorite underground goblin creature, Rabbit. That's me. Today we'll be going over what happened in the last broadcast, as well as another fantastic interview with a new wasteland weirdo that I've gotten into contact with. We'll be radio chatting with them this time, as the phone lines still aren't fixed. From when Gregory showed up and attacked us. So, after the attack, we all had to pitch in, and me more than others, sadly, to fix the stuff that was broken. Mostly, I just had to sweep up all the communal places and put everything back together so long as it wasn't needed immediately. I'm still sweeping dust out of some of the recreational facilities. It's easier than the repairs, at least. I can't do that because of the eyesight problem. The eyesight problem is also an issue with cleaning, as it's difficult to see the small stuff on the ground that needs to be picked up. Not my fault I can't fucking see the specks of ceiling that are still laying there. It's whatever, though, because we're alive, and that's all that matters. I'm sure they would say otherwise, but you know what? I think this luck we had will probably hold out forever. So why not push it a bit sometimes? I did also end up radioing everyone that needed to be satiated in the aftermath of the assaults. Everyone is nice and squared away, and I don't have to worry about death threats from those guys for a while. Probably. We have much more to discuss today, though, and I promised I'd have a chat with you all last time, and I meant it. As I also said last time, I found some old data from Gramps. It's on some old hardware that I had never seen before, but upon looking into it a bit, I found out what it was. It's called a floppy disk. Weirdly enough, it's not floppy at all. It's just some kind of square and hard thing. Should I call it a hard disk? Sidetracking aside, this side of plastic is a sidewinder because there's nothing on it. It's like one picture and that's it. I think the size of the files on this thing must be very small, as it only had the one thing, and it was a picture that didn't make sense. I'll have to go through the rest of these disks later, as there was kind of a pile of them. This one was just on top. I'm hoping this leads to something actually useful. Though, usually with Grandpa, it's likely useless or misleading and useless. I still trust some of what I read from those old journals and stuff, but I have to fact-check it every once in a while. Like with that animal stuff from a while back. Turns out books from over 100 years ago aren't very good at describing the animals we have now, even if it's just a comparison. Enough preamble. Let's begin with some new lessons on how to survive out there in the wastes. See, I told you I'd tell you something new. Now, I actually did fact-check this info for you all. Traders and currency. Since I will be talking with a well-known trader later, I figured I'd brief you all on how money and trading works. So most of you malformed trogs will not really understand what these things mean, but I know that you understand that the food man comes by and you give him that thing he wants so you can have some nifty food that isn't dirt for once. Well, nifty food man doesn't take those things because you don't want them, he takes them because he needs them. Those things you give up could be anywhere from other types of foods that you may have too much of, or perhaps items or currency that you use that have value. We'll start with the pachinko, since that's the one thing I've gone over on the show before, and that's kind of all I know. The pachinko being a little ball bearing that the raider types trade around and act like they have value. While these things may or may not have value to me or a regular trader, they have value to the folks that know how to harass us all, and the ones who may be stockpiling goods they found from the old world. Well, if the traders who don't find value in the pachinkas want those old world goods, they have to find the pachinkas to trade to these raiders, and that's that. So what do? They have to now find the value in these little metal balls, the same as them, from now on, so that they can trade with these usually untrustworthy allies. So you can trade with goods, and you can trade with currency. But did you know, dear listener, that you can trade with services as well? If you have a discernible skill, or perhaps even a thing in your place of living that can do something most can't, then you can sell that for goods or currency. Why, yes, that thing you found that seems to only turn foods into a paste can and will work for you as long as you are the one who owns it and knows how to operate it. Or perhaps you have a hideously mutated cow beast that lives with you and creates milk. Well, this cow beast doesn't have to just stand around. It can be used to farm land by pulling around machinery that can make it easier for you to plant. Or perhaps this beast can burden itself with other goods of yours and make it so you can carry more stuff to neighboring villages that have stuff that you want, and want stuff you don't need. So many avenues for exploiting your fellow creatures out there can and will be done through the use of currency, goods, and services. So why don't you all try it out today? Beats the piss out of the wanton violence you will commit on a daily basis. Though maybe try not to do anything with the big guys or the melty guys. They don't speak the same languages as us usually, and they kind of maim first and don't ask questions later if they do speak. If you are one of those kinds of folks, you can help remove that stigma about your people by setting a good example and showing them how to be nice, good creatures of the waste and not killing or maiming anyone on sight. That should help everyone be able to trade and contribute to capitalism much more easily. That's right. This whole time I've been enticing you all to enjoy and consume under the very reason we have reached this point in our existence. This is because there are only two types of things in the world: capitalism and communism. Communists were the reason for why our world went to shit, and only capitalists can save us now. Therefore, you must all contribute to capitalism as much as you can and as hard as you can. That way we can all buy our way out of any and all awful things. Don't like your neighbor? Buy their home. Don't like that your neighbor just bought your house? Buy it back. Buy your neighbor. Buy your neighbor's neighbor. Anything can be solved with money. Not to mention that if you just keep buying things, all the money we invest will trickle down to everyone who doesn't have money. Hang on. I've heard this before. Let me just rummage over here for a second. Yeah. Yeah. It's in this book by Donald Reagan. This guy was an idiot. I wrote this all out on a script while I was half passing out yesterday, but I don't really remember writing this. Who wrote this? Wait. Ty. That's Ty's signature here at the bottom. I thought he got all his blood drained the other day. I mean, nothing happened to him and he was completely fine. Right? I guess he's not dead after being drained. I mean, completely fine means he's alive, so that's good news. We should all be happy to be alive. I wonder why he would want to write this in, though. Perhaps he's upset with me for some reason. Not like I would know, but anyways, I guess I can just move on from Gregonomics for now. Now that I think about it, I don't remember writing most of this. Maybe the ghost of Donnie was inhabiting me or Ty last night. Whatever. I think the point still stands that an economy being created in our society, if you can call it that, can be very helpful. I feel like a good amount of listeners out there may already be contributing, but this one-sided talk that we've been having is for those that may not really understand fully. I don't think all of you eat dirt, after all. Just most of you. Those of you that don't eat dirt are most likely already doing this, so all the information given so far has been of little use. That's why I'm going to give the smartest amongst you a special tip that the dirty dummies won't understand. There's a thing called haggling that I've learned about. Not from the Gregonomics book, but from Grandpa. See, Grandpa taught me that whatever someone is selling something for is probably not the real worth of the item. They're trying to get as much money or stuff out of you as possible, and since it's stuff you want from them, they'll usually jack up the price a bit as a way to make extra money. Well, that's a bunch of hooey. If you really want to know what something's worth, you can complain and say, "Hey, buddy, this is a bunch of bull. I know this only costs, insert whatever the worth is here, and you're just trying to scam me. How's about you give me the real price?" And then they'll be so impressed that they'll buckle and give you the proper price, which is usually a bit lower than what they said it was. Give it a try, but just make sure you know what you're talking about. They might get mad if you say something is worth less than what it actually is, when in actuality, they're giving you a good deal. So maybe, if you trust the dealer, just ask them if the price is correct instead of trying to get it a bit cheaper. Just be nice, be polite. They're coming to you, after all. However, if you're at a bazaar of some kind, then go wild. You'll likely get ripped off, even if you haggle them down. Alright, dirt and non-dirt eaters, I have taught you all that I know about money. For now. I will continue to read into this stuff more and more and let you guys know how my pursuits of money go in the future. To be honest, I don't have to do it that often, as I only really ever get to barter at the canteen when I want something tasty over the main dish that's being served. That dusty crab meal I talked about, I was able to get an extra bit of bread instead of that, as some people don't like the bread we make here. I like it, so it was an easy trade, as the dusty old crab is bland and full of green dust. At least they add a bit of spice to the bread, so it has some kind of flavor. I will have to figure out a price for some ads. I've been getting recorded for you folks, actually. That's right, I'm beginning the beginnings of making ad deals with two of our former guests. I've gotten a recording from both Vamp and Caliper. And they said once they've talked it over a bit, they will each have a contract prepared to pay me for those ads. Pretty great, right? I get paid just to tell you guys to go buy their stuff. Although they were talking about percentages based on ratings, and I only kind of understand what that is, so I'll have to get back to you on that. This broadcast is brought to you by Shids Tech. Do you need safety from a nondescript apocalypse of some kind that may or may not have ended the world? Then perhaps you should invest in a Shids Tech bunker. Sure, you could make one yourself or buy from some other corporation, but that just wouldn't be the same kind of shids. Shids Tech isn't just some other mega corporation like the other mega corporations. Shids Tech loves you. I mean, what other company loves you like its own family? Shids Tech loves you and wants your safety. Buy a Shids Tech bunker today because it's the best shids on the market. Well, I think that will suffice for our one-on however many of you there are chatting right now. I'm going to go ahead and radio into our guest and see if they're available. Hello? Clover, are you there? Calling about that interview you said you'd do. Hello?
Huh? I said what now? Oh, right. You're that Phil I wanted to talk to me. Not sure why you'd want to do that, but yeah, I'm free at the moment.
Great. Yeah, I don't necessarily want to know about just you. I want to know what it's like to do the things you do, like running trade and trying to supply others out there in the wastes.
Wait, this interview's about me? But it's about my work? Well, that's not as fun. I guess we could do that, though. Also, you better cut it out with the lessons about trading you were doing earlier on. Don't need anyone else to muscle in my business. Competition ain't all it's cracked up to be, you know.
I'm just going to move past that and get on with the interview. So let's go ahead and introduce you. What is your name and who or what do you work for?
I thought I told you that already last time. Why are you asking me that again like some kind of idiot?
Okay, this is a radio show. I'm asking so that I can introduce you to the audience that's listening. They wouldn't even know, even if I did.
Well, why don't you tell them then, you idiot? I don't have the patience to tell someone my name again.
Fuck's sakes. Alright. This, my dear audience, is Clover. He helps run the caravans that bring you the supplies that you need. His particular group is called Bedknobs and Boomsticks, and he also is basically responsible for some of you being able to eat more than dirt.
Oh, so you do remember my name. Well, that's nice, but you really shouldn't talk to yourself while you're already in a conversation.
This is gonna be my whole day, huh? Let's continue. So now that I've gotten the information I already know out of the way, why don't you go ahead and explain a bit more about your work itself?
I'm not really interested in going on about that, but I'll tell you about my new business venture instead.
You... what?
You see, I found this little place that used to host a thing called mini golf. But it turns out that people used to beat up these little white balls with clubs and then shove them into the holes. So what I've done is, instead of using these little white balls as they are, I'll just use my surplus of explosives and make them into mini grenades. So when you go to shove these little balls around, you have a limited time to get it into the hole. Pretty exciting, isn't it?
Well, for starters, I didn't ask, but beyond that, that sounds dangerous as all hell. You want to make people play this? It sounds like if you hit it too hard, you'll just blow up anyways.
Of course not. They gotta pay if they want to play. I'm not running a damn charity here. They got a long fuse, too. They won't blow up on you if you whack them too hard. Went through enough helpers to figure out how strong they can be. That's for sure.
You know, when I heard you were a bit weird, I didn't think it was for the same reasons as the rest of my guests have been. I think I've had a really bad track record for guests, actually.
Don't worry about it, mate. I'm sure you'll get better at this someday. Just gotta get good at finding people who want to actually talk to you. I'm only doing this to get more pay, since some friends said it would be a good idea.
You know what? That's fine. As long as this spreads the show a bit, and I don't mind helping you make some extra money. Plus, you said you'd do an ad for me later, and that will help me make some money of my own.
Now that's what I like to hear. Making money for the fuck of it. Good lad.
Yes, well, money is a means to an end for me. All I care about is this show. And living. Anyways, we've gotten a bit sidetracked. I'll move on to the next question. How do your caravans work exactly, and who are the people that make it run through the wastes?
That's an easy one. They work because I tell them to, and I'm the one that makes it run.
No, man, I mean, what are the inner workings like? I'm asking how this stuff works, not why it works.
Well, how else am I supposed to tell you? They just do what I say because I say it. They want to eat and live too, so they do the job they're told. Simple as that.
Well, I'm gonna have to just throw out my questions at this point, because it seems like they weren't specific enough for you. Fine, just tell me why you do this then.
Well, money, of course.
Alright then. So why do you need money?
Well, I gotta eat, and I gotta get these caravans running.
So how do these caravans run?
With money, of course.
This is becoming a cyclical loop. Alright, fuck it. What do your caravans trade for that money?
Well, not all of us carry the same stuff. I carry pretty much anything and everything. But that means I won't have specific stuff like the others.
What do the others specialize in?
Oh, loads of stuff. One guy is a traveling doctor, I think.
So you must carry medical supplies then. That probably means he buys from the Crimson Bats, right?
Oh, no, we don't dare go to those guys anymore. They drained all new recruits every time we go there. So we decided that if they wanted to trade with us, they would have to send someone themselves to trade.
Wish I would have talked to you first then, as I had to deal with that a bit too. I mean, Ty is fine and definitely not crazy now.
You're right there, you sound a bit panicked.
Yes, I'm fine. Just a bit panicked, I mean fine. Actually, I have a question that's a bit embarrassing and derailing from that. We've been talking about money for a while now, and I have only just realized that I don't really know what kind of money you do use. I only really know about bartering and pachinkas from those raider freaks.
We use pachinkas as well, but probably because it keeps the raider types from harassing us. We really use the caps of bottles for anything that isn't bartered.
Bottle caps? Like the plastic things that we use to hold our water in our water bottles?
Yeah, metal ones too, but those are harder to put back on.
Why, though? Using that sounds super dumb.
Now listen here, Buster, I don't make the rules. I just sell the junk. If you want to know more, you're gonna have to pay me some caps.
Well, that's not happening. I'll have to ask Kat later if she knows about this.
You should know that metal caps and plastic ones have different worth. A plastic cap is worth about an eighth of what a metal one's worth.
Why's that?
Well, metal ones are harder to find, and even though it's a bit harder to, you can still reseal the bottle with it.
That actually doesn't sound like too bad of a system. But it doesn't make sense. And how did it start?
Well, you see, it was back when the water was needed much more than the food, so people who shipped around the water needed a way to trust that that's what you were getting when you paid. Therefore, they made it so that caps that could reseal the water is what you could pay to get the water.
Well, I'm still not sure I follow, but that's certainly interesting, if not a bit flawed.
Says you. Just haven't done enough trading yet. One day you'll understand, youngin'.
I'm not even that young. I'm almost 30.
Oh, look at this one. Knows how to count your years. I'll have you know that no one out in the West knows how old they are.
Alright, how many winters have you lived through?
About 20. Why?
You're about 20.
Son of a bitch. That's some fancy math you got there.
Nope, just common sense, which may be really what has died outside of these bunkers.
Well, my common sense is telling me you better hurry up, because I got a job to do.
Fine. I want to know one more thing about your caravans. How do you get all these items moved around?
We use pack animals. There are these things we've had to help deliver goods for many years called servant. We used to have a beast of burden called a cow, but those things started a revolution. Don't get us started on the horses either. Them things are too horny. Our forefathers said the horses were good for getting around, but when we found some, they were too deadly to even try and ride.
That sounds awful and concerning for both of those last two. But I've actually seen images in old textbooks about cows and horses. So what in the world is a servant?
Some say they used to be called deer. But there's no way this thing could be a deer anymore. They're quite hideous, and the flesh on their face is very much barely there. Don't say like huge though, so they're good enough for just slapping a bunch of stuff on and drag it along with you.
You're horrific but useful. I suppose we'll have to find one of those servants to help us move around some stuff for the bunker.
I would recommend finding one actually. They're not that docile in the wild. You've got to find a very young one and adopt it from its mother. So think you're the mother and be docile with you and other bipeds. Just be careful if you do though. They're very hard to look at when they're small.
How is a baby hard to look at?
Well, not only are they malformed and disgusting, but they're also bright and shiny. Like Radstorm. Bright and shiny.
Oh, they're irradiated. Got it. Well, we've probably still got some lead gloves and stuff we can use to help make that less painful.
Alright, I gotta get going, so I'll talk to you a bit later about that deal we're gonna get started, alright? You better keep up your end of the bargain, buddy.
One last question before you go. You've got quite the odd accent. Where did you get it?
Accent? Hell's that mean?
The way you talk, Clover, the manner in which your words come out of your mouth.
That? Well, you see, when my folks moved here, they moved in with some family that had their own shelters to not rely on the outside world for a good few years. These folks weren't from this country, or so they say, but they never really talked about the old country, so neither my parents nor me know about that old country at all. They said they left because of some great exodus, an exit plan or some shite.
Well, that clears that up, I guess. Maybe I can find an old book or something that will help me learn about your old country.
Sure, but I'm not paying for it since I didn't fucking ask. See you then, Rabbit, and remember to pay me for the time I've given you, or I'll break your legs for the tire iron.
Hold on, what? Oh, no. I'm getting really sick of all my guests being crazy. I don't think you're going to be getting anyone less crazy anytime soon, too. These wastelanders all seem to be completely bonkers, and my plan was to try and trick one of those knights into talking to me next. Oh, he's probably going to be crazy, too. It should go fine. I think I actually learned something this time. And they won't kill me as long as I help them make a bit of money. So I'm safe for now. That's it then. I didn't have anything else planned for this broadcast. The phone lines that were destroyed will probably still be down for another few weeks, so I'll just have to listen into radios again like I did when I first started the show. But hey, that's still good too. When they are fixed, though, I can finally call up that mutant fella who said he'd do an interview. They said they didn't like radios as they knew they were listening to him, so I kinda have to wait. Sucks, but that's why I'm gonna get in touch with the Knights instead. So if you want to be on the show or just like hearing my lovely voice, make sure to tune in next time and listen to the Rad Rabbit Radio. This has been Rabbit, and I hope you all have a rad rest of your day, because you'll have to anyways.